Batman Soul of the Dragon is directed by Sam Liu and written by Jeremy Adams and stars the voice talents of David Giuntoli, Mark Dacascos, Kelly Hugh, Michael Jai White, and James Hong, just to name a few. And takes place in the 1970s, and it tells the story of a very young Bruce Wayne, aka Batman, who, when his sensei goes missing, he teams up with his past fellow students to try and find him, and while doing so, stop a madman from bringing an evil god to our world. Ever since the DC animated universe hit the reboot button with Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, I think they've been running in the right direction. I, for one, while it's been a mixed bag, have been really enjoying this new take on these heroes. First of all, not every single movie that comes out has the exact same animation style, and I dig that. It feels fresh, it feels original. It feels like the movies, you know, with everybody's style really getting to be on display. Another thing I'm glad they did is they kind of changed up some of the voice cast, which I'll get into what I really enjoyed there. And of course, we're getting all these standalone stories with Superman, Man of Tomorrow. We had one from Deathstroke. I think it was called Demons and Knights. There have been a few of them out so far. And really, it's been, like I said, it's been a mixed bag. There's some I like more than others. But I really appreciate the fact that they're going for these standalone stories that feel like, some of them feel like what if comic books from an alternative universe. And that's where Batman Soul of the Dragon falls in. It's one of those stories that feels like a what if. What if Batman studied under this martial artist called, well, they just call him O-Sensei here. And what if he, a very young Batman, was based in the era of the 70s? And the thing with the character of Batman is I've always felt like he works really well no matter what era you put him in. At least when it's well done. So we had most recently an example of that being Batman Ninja. I liked the animation. I did not like the story. I did not like what they did with the story. But it just goes to show Batman is the kind of character that does well in these different eras. Gotham by Gaslight was one that I had a lot of fun with. I absolutely loved that whole noir kind of steampunk take on Batman. And now we have a Batman who is styled after 70s action movies like Shaft and Enter the Dragon. And guys, I have to say, I had a lot of fun with this. First of all, the animation style here, I know some people are not gonna like it. Probably, you know, you miss the whole New 52 style of doing things. For me, I like that they changed things up a bit. I like the musical choices here. Thing is, I watch a lot of these old movies with my dad, so I have a fond place in my heart for films like Shaft and that kind of thing. Even though they're very much a product of their time, they can be a lot of fun. And I love that whole Enter the Dragon spirit they had going here with this. I also thought the voice casting was so good here. Now, some of these actors have done work before with these characters. We have Michael Jai White, for instance, as Bronze Tiger. He not only played the live action version of that character in the Arrow series, but he has done voice work before in like Static Shock and stuff like that. We have Kelly Hugh, another person who's no stranger to the DC animated universe. She's done work as Cheshire, I think it was, in Young Justice. She's also been in Arrow as well, you know, and their voices really suit these characters, at least in my opinion. Now, I wasn't a fan of the actor who previously voiced Batman. Not Kevin Conroy. Of course, I'm not speaking about Kevin Conroy, right? I think his name is Jason Mara. And I didn't feel like he brought any real life to the character. That's just my personal opinion. But I'm digging David, and forgive me, I'm probably slaughtering his last name, Giuntoli. He's from Grimm. Most of you, if you've seen that television series, you'll recognize him from Grimm. I think he does a great job here as Bruce Wayne / Batman. And I dig his voice work for this character. The person who stood out the most to me, of course, here though was I think it's James Wong from Big Trouble in Little China as O Sensei. Now there's a lot of humor in this, which surprised me, but I was delighted by it, and I feel like he had all the best humorous lines. His jokes landed, at least they did for me. And overall, I really liked the story at play here. You know, we have this whole team up. This is a young Bruce Wayne. He's now kind of becoming Batman in this story, you know, so he's not the best at what he does, but we have the spirit and the essence of who this character is. But I'll circle back around to him because this is more this another person's story. The character being Richard Dragan, voiced by Mark Dacascos, you know, 90s action hero Mark Dacascos. Not that he's ever gone anyway. He's done a lot of work in stuff like Hawaii Five-0 and stuff like that. But it's more of his story here. And I know people are going to have issue with that, guys. I know Batman fans are going to take issue with this movie not really being about Batman. He's in it. He has parts to playing it. But to get a little spoilerish here, guys, there's not a lot of Batman in this at all. And I feel like people are going to rip this movie apart just because of that. But as somebody who likes to see team up stuff, I like to see a story not really centered on a character all the time, but sometimes around that character's experience. And I feel like that's what they did here. They showed us what it would be like for a young Bruce Wayne to be learning the ropes, so to speak. And he's had these adventures, he's having this experience, he's teaming up with people who are arguably better fighters than he is. You know, I mean, who is a more badass fighter than Lady Shiva in the DC universe, right? There's nobody that can top Lady Shiva. Maybe Batman could stand toe to toe with her for a minute, right? But you could fight me on this one, ain't nobody kicking Shiva's ass, right? And we get to see that here. And again, I know hardcore Batman fans are not gonna like that element of this movie. For me, it wasn't a problem. It felt like I was in the shoes of Bruce Wayne, not as this indomitable hero who can always get out on top, but as somebody who would trip and fall and get back up, because that's what Batman does. That's what Bruce Wayne does. You could knock him down 1,000 times, he's gonna get up 1,001 times. That's just who he is, and we see that here, and I feel like it was well represented. The fighting sequences are some of the best I've seen in the animated DC universe in some time. The flow of it, the martial arts, I thought it was well drawn out, well animated. It didn't feel stiff. It didn't feel, you could feel the impact. There was a fight between Bruce and Bronze Tiger. I was like, ugh, flinching for him. You know, there were moments like that where you truly feel the impact of it. Now, where this fell for me was the whole issue of the villain, right? This type of snake god thing. I won't really get into it or spoil anything about it. Just to say that the villain here is extremely hollow. There's nothing about this villain that is engaging. There's nothing about this villain that is interesting. His men are not interesting. I mean, they look cool, you know, they have cool abilities, all these snake worshipping people and their different abilities derived from that, but they were just bland and boring and utterly forgettable. They are definitely the weakest aspect of this here, and that's a shame. You know, it would have been nice to see them have a villain with some charisma to him. You know, this guy just served zero purpose in my opinion, and at no point did you ever feel like he was the real threat. You know, so that was a weak spot for me, and it's a big one because it's the villain of the story. Overall, guys, I think like I'm really enjoying these DC animated movies. I'm really enjoying this whole aspect of you can take one story and just it can stand on its own. They don't all have to connect because we know these heroes. We know their stories. And not every single universe of heroes needs to be that interconnected, you know, because stories could get very bogged down and very boxed in when you're forced to have every single one of them connect like puzzle pieces like that. So I am really enjoying this kind of fresh take on these movies. And so for me, this one was a 6.5 out of 10. When I first watched it, I was like 7. I really loved it. But you know, there's some issues there with that villain. Again, like I said, I did not have an issue with the lack of Batman in a Batman movie. I really didn't. For me, it was like, I wish they would do that with Wolverine. You know, you could have an X-Men movie with Wolverine, not about Wolverine, if you get what I'm saying. So for me, it wasn't that much of an issue. But overall, I think this movie gets a 6.5 out of 10. And I am definitely looking forward to seeing what else the DC Animated Universe brings us. And that's it for this one, guys. So I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've seen this movie, let me know how you feel about it. If you enjoyed the video, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's always appreciated. For those of you who are new and you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can click on my face when it pops up right about there. And you can check out past videos if you're in the mood. So until the next one, guys. Bye-bye.